Number 39, diminished responsibility.
Diminished responsibility, the common contemporary fallacy of applying a specialized judicial concept that criminal punishment should be less if one's judgment was impaired to reality in general. Example, you can't count on me, you can't count me absent on Monday. I was hungover and couldn't come to class, so it's not my fault. Oh my God. Oh, this one's already bringing the shit up. Or, yeah, I was speeding on the freeway and killed a guy, but I was buzzed out of my mind and didn't know what I was doing, so it didn't matter that much. In reality, the death does matter very much to the victim, to his family and friends, and to society in general. Whether the perpetrator was high or not does not matter at all since the material results are the same. This also includes the fallacy of panic, a very common contemporary fallacy that one's words or actions, no matter how damaging or evil, somehow don't count because I panicked. This fallacy is rooted in the confusion of consequences with punishment. See also venting.
Oh, that's interesting. The very end, because that brings us to a fallacy from the very beginning
Yeah.
of that there was a difference between oh God, which was it? I'm just scroll back to the top. Actions have consequences. Number three, the difference between an actual consequence of something happening versus the societal punishment that we decide upon it.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, I remember it most vividly in Cutco and in uh corporate jobs that I was in after Cutco. And for me, the most common, I knew someone was trying to diminish their responsibility for having been late or not showing up when they said they were, if they use the phrase due to. Like, oh, I'm not able to make it due to a family emergency, due to my tire blowing out, due to like that was always like the corporate speak or like the linguistic backdoor to it being okay that this person didn't show up when they said they were, or that they didn't do what they said they were going to do. So anytime I ever saw the words due to, I literally ignored the second half. I was like, they're about to tell me some bullshit that has nothing to do with why they're not fucking here. They're just not fucking here. So yeah, wild.
Uh, is there a valid excuse? Because if we're just automatically saying anything that says due to after it is automatically invalid.
Oh, yeah. I want to be clear. I'm not saying this is like ultimate truth. I'm saying what I noticed most often was that if someone was going, just like it said in the fallacy thing where it was like, I you can't count on me being absent on Monday. I was hungover and couldn't come to class. Like what I mean is that like frame of like it's okay that I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and here's why. I found that the most common two words in between those two things was due to. Can you use due to and it be totally okay? Yes. But I just found the pattern that I noticed most frequently was that due to was like it was what people thought if they said that, then it was like, oh, then it's fine that you didn't do what you said you were going to do because it was due to something. You know what I mean? That to me is it's not saying it's true. I'm just saying that's what I noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that is diminished responsibility. Now, you did mention that there were did any pop up for yourself
Hmm.
while you think about that?
Yeah.
Um, the the fallacy of panic I've seen have really dangerous repercussions. One that I recall was a story of a child answering the front door to a policeman, and the child was holding a Wiimote, and it was black. And the cop thought that was a gun and shot the kid and killed him immediately because he panicked. And that was his excuse, that he panicked. And dude, a kid died because of Nintendo and the cop. It's not Nintendo's fault. So, anyways, I guess the lesson is don't buy black Wiimotes.
Well,
No,
very few
I'm
people are
kidding.
purchasing, very few people are purchasing Wii's today anyway. But no, when you asked like, did I do this? 100% yes. Like I mentioned before, a huge issue with mine was taking responsibility. So I never used the do to because I had gotten such a wagon full of do to that I was like, I'm never going to use do to, but I still used do to in a different format all the time. It was like example, like if I ended up being late for something, I would always say like, "Hey, sorry for being late. Here's why it's okay that I'm late." Like in this one, even in this call, right? It's like it was I had to like genuinely before I showed up to this call, I had to like think about consciously as I'm about to tell Bryce that I'm late, like
I was actually gonna cut that part out. So if you want to explain that, because that was a totally different fallacy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when I came up to this call, I came in about 10 minutes late, I think is what I came in. Something like that, yeah. Something like that.
A little bit more than yeah.
Yeah, so 10 to 15 minutes, somewhere in there, and that's absurdly late. And as I was coming here, the basically my girlfriend and I we planned a quick walk route. We propped open this gate with a rock, and so that we could make it back in because the padlock on this particular lock is busted on our thing. We come back and that lock is busted, which means we have to walk all the way around the complex. And as I'm walking around, for me, I absolutely hate being late because I feel shameful of being late. And in the past, when I would share, if I was late to anything, I would share the being late and I would so quickly jump over to here's why. And internally, my relationship with the sharing the why was to get me out of the responsibility of having been late. And so to Bryce, before he and I started this call, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry for being late." I had to, he doesn't know I was doing this, but I had to intentionally, when I said I'm sorry, intentionally like take note and take responsibility internally, like, "Hey, Alan, you were late, regardless of whatever the excuse was. That does not excuse the lateness. Do not be late next time," had to be a dialogue in my own head. Because if I don't have that dialogue in my head, because it's almost like an addict with sugar or cocaine or whatever. Like my system is so used to and let's just lose responsibility by saying the thing. I have to consciously remind myself that if I'm going to use an explanation for why I made a mistake or why I'm late or what have you, that it's not an excuse as to why it's okay, because it was a constant go-to thing to avoid really taking in the feedback from the world around me that, "Alan, you're late all the fucking time." So that was a big thing for me on diminished responsibility. Absolutely.
I think when I worked at Cutco, I also did this, at least for a little bit. But then um, I think that there is a difference between uh, using empathy to just share, like, hey, here's what happened. I take full responsibility, but like, this is why it will. Uh, I I wasn't planning on this variable being there. It doesn't diminish my responsibility. But now I can take that into account and just sharing for like empathy reasons instead of just saying, oh, I'm late and I'm not going to bother saying why. I feel like it's more human to share, but still take responsibility. But if you're using it, the problem is if you're using it as an excuse to say, therefore, I'm good. No, no,
Yes, totally. This feels good to me. Next one.
very good. Excellent.